Well, thanks for having me, Tomas. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. For all those listening, my name is Derek Anderson, the founder of Elevate Performance Group. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope you listen well, and I hope anything we talk about can be of great benefit for you.
Brilliant. So before I get started, Derek, would you mind telling me a bit about your background, how you got into what you do? As I said, as I understand it, one of the things that set you apart at the Elevate Performance Group is that, as you say, that mind-body connection, that intersection between physical optimization and mental optimization. What brought you there? I understand you have a history as a PT, spirituality. What was the pivotal decision to make you think, right, I can do something different and something better than what's already on the market?
It's been a long journey for me. So health and wellness and fitness has always been a part of my life since I was a young kid. I grew up with severe depression and a lot of anxiety and a lot of athletic goals. So that combination of those things, it was a way to help me get through some really tough times. I remember getting my first dumbbell set when I was about 8 years old and just constantly using that thing to get over some difficult situations that were going on in my mind. And, as I grew older, I kind of kept learning more and kept progressing through the health and wellness space, through seeing therapists and learning more about meditation and spirituality and all these things. And so I finally just wanted to combine everything I've learned to help as many people as possible. I've been doing health and wellness coaching for about 17 years now. We've moved on into the B2B space to help software companies with their employees' health and wellness, things like high stress levels and anxiety and anything that may be hindering their performance. We want to help them achieve their goals in this manner.
Great. So with that being said, Derek, say if I was an employee and I feel like I'm burnt out, I'm working in tech, things are stressful in the tech space right now. It's very volatile. Everything's changing constantly. I'm waking up every day a bit on edge, a bit burnt out, and I just don't know where to start. What would be the first steps you would recommend somebody? Would you say meditate, or would you say get in the gym? Would you say do both? Would you say do some positive affirmations? Or what would be the initial steps that anybody here listening can take into their own hands to get them on the right path as you see it?
The first thing I would suggest is to become fully aware of your thoughts. They say on average, we're only aware of about 8 to 10% of our thoughts, which means we have 15 to 20,000 thoughts a day that we don't even think about. So we're using different languages that are repetitive, that we have learned over a long period of time. So taking the first steps to become aware of that can point out a lot of what you need. Like, for example, the language of wanting and needing, like I want this, I want to achieve this, I need to have this. It's putting your mind in a state of lack, which is bringing on that anxiety and that feeling of something missing. And it's also harder to pursue your goals when you're thinking that way. And all of us do it. I'm guilty of it too. But being aware of that and changing that one want or need word to, no, I am going to do this. Just that one small tweak can get you accelerated in the right direction to a full pursuit of your goals, whether it be physical or mental.
Perfect. Do you feel like one is more important than the other? Do you think, you talk a lot about the mind-body connection. If you could explain what that actually is, that'd be great. But which do you think is more important, the body or the mind?
I would say they're equal. It's one entity. For hundreds of years, we were taught that they were separate, right? You had to train your body for performance and your mind for cognitive skill. It wasn't until my sophomore year in college when the dean of the kinesiology department came in and lectured us about the mind-body connection and how it functions as one unit. And that was kind of life-altering for me because, I'd always focus so hard on my body, but I'd neglect this. And, I wouldn't necessarily see the results I wanted that way. And I think a lot of us still see them as separate things, seeing meditation or journaling as separate skills to any physical goal you may have. They're equally as important. They go together. You make your mind stronger, your body's going to perform better. your body performs better, your mind is going to continue to be stronger, and you're going to want to pursue both of those things equally.
Makes sense. Sort of the case of where the mind goes, the body will follow. That's any sort of running of any distance. Your mind always gives up before your body, whether you like it or not. So it makes perfect sense. I suppose some of the exercises that you would have for employees in tech, what kind of exercises do they look like? Is it meditation? Is it journaling? Or is there a secret sort of sauce that you like to use to get people going?
Well, it depends what they're trying to accomplish, because everyone has different goals, right? Someone might be looking to lower their anxiety. Someone might be looking to lose weight or gain muscle. So we really want everything to be customized for people. So we spend the time to sit down with each person, learn their pain points, and then provide the appropriate methods. For a quick example of the mind-body connection, something someone might need, I met with someone recently, and they had a lot of lower back pain from a sedentary job, but they were also really stressed out from deadlines, and they had presentations coming up, and they were feeling unconfident about it. So I put them through a chakra-based yoga program where every week they're journaling, they're doing meditations to work on those pain points and their inner strength, as well as performing yoga routines that were designed to fix that lower back pain through pelvic tilt and hip alignment issues. So that's kind of an example of how you can combine the two to ultimately achieve a bigger goal.
That makes perfect sense. I remember coming from personal experience, I think if you know me, I have a tendency to definitely overwork at times. And coming from, much like yourself, you're kind of doing a weightlifting background, or in my case, both of our cases, some sort of combat sports, my stress relief will always be, I get beat up for an hour or two. That's what we'll do, which is great. Clears the head. And I had a conversation with somebody recently. She's a somatic coach. I went deep into this. And as you mentioned, that mind-body connection, at the end of the day, if you're stressed out from work, there's a bit of nuance here, obviously. Your body is flooded with adrenaline already and cortisol. Maybe depleting the rest of it by absolutely killing yourself in deadlifts might not be the best thing for you. Maybe you should actually get out of that fight or flight state and relax. So that's actually a very, very interesting point. And I think especially in a male-dominated industry, for the most part, I'm not saying this is the way it should be, but just statistically, it's more of a male dominant audience or demographic. It's an interesting angle to suggest something like yoga, because obviously there's a bit of a stigma there, but there's a reason, there's a stereotype. Nobody thinks of a yogi and thinks that person's stressed. There's a reason to it. It's interesting. With all that being said, do you find difficulty when it comes to getting engagement from employees? Because obviously everybody in tech, there's different strokes for different folks, like we say in Ireland. There'll be introverted, so there'll be people that are big into weightlifting, there'll be people that are cyclists, people that are runners. How do you, as part of the Elevate Performance Group, have such a high percentage of people actually engaging in your programs?
It's a couple different ways. There's communication, there's different coaching styles, and then having the right fit for someone based off of that coaching style. So communication is huge, because someone wants to always feel accountable, like they have a teammate, like they have a life coach or health coach. It's considered a luxury item through most of the world. It's something that everyone really wants. I mean, I kind of want one too, to be honest, even though I know what I'm doing. Just that extra level of pushing. But it's a luxury item, so people are less likely to go out and get that for themselves. So the fact that it's provided for them through their company it's a great resource. They want to take advantage of it. And we up that level through our constant communication, getting really specific into their personal goals and finding the solutions to help them get there that work best for them. And that's why I bring up styles of coaching, because not everything works the same for everybody. Some people are visual learners, some are audio based, some like to be pushed and kind of, have that edge, kind of like a football coach, you're getting more yelled at and pushed that way. Others like a more gentle approach, or more calming. So You have to find the right fit for each person to put them in the best scenario for their personal success. And that's just something that we are really good at Elevate Performance Group.
Interesting. On the outside looking in, obviously what you're doing is a very balanced, very holistic approach to making sure that people are living the best lives possible physically and mentally. I would imagine there would be occasional pieces of pushback from the more stubborn, employees who think, all right, I've been there, I've done that. I used to play, as you said, might be college football, or I wrestled, or I did athletics. How do you go about approaching people who might be a bit more skeptical of your approaches? Because I understand you do make sure that you're improving athletic performance, but like you said, there may be some, I wouldn't say unconventional, but new approaches to wellness that they might not be used to. So how do you go about overcoming that skepticism?
The main reason is we are really relatable. So speaking for me personally, I have a big athletic background. So using your example of an ex-wrestler, college football player, I can relate to that deeply. The injuries that may have occurred, knowledge of the human body to fix those things, and using that former practice into something that is motivating for them to get started with us. But also, if I'm not a good fit, we have someone else that is relatable for them, right? So let's say someone wants to lose 100 pounds. I personally have never been through that. So they might want someone who they can relate to about it and feel more comfortable to open up and ask for advice. I actually have a coach on my team who has lost 120 pounds when I coached them. And now they work. Wow. So it's kind of a very cool thing that they can relate better to others who have been through that experience, right? That's kind of more motivating for them to work with someone who has shared those experiences.
You've walked the walk, and at the end of the day, people interact with people. And as you said, that's really actually inspiring, to be fair, that your own students, for lack of a better word, and effectively have been passing on the torch. I mean, sort of, as a passing on that relatability, that's inspiring. So, in terms of the scope of corporate wellness itself, right? It's obviously, there's a lot going on. Depending on the size of the company, there might be a bit of bureaucracy. What are some of the most significant challenges that you've encountered when implementing wellness programs in corporate settings, and how do you address them?
Well, a lot of what we do is digital. We work with companies all over the country, and it can be more unmotivating to get set up through an app or a digital structure when that in-person contact is kind of missing, that face-to-face interaction. So that's one issue. The other is available equipment. So not everyone, let's say it's a physical program, they might not be acting in a gym. They might only have body weight or only have band equipment at their house, and that's what they're looking to do it. So like I talked before about communication, that's where we really have to step that up, is to constantly reach in, constantly encourage, and just know, like, we're on your team no matter what. We're going to get through this together. And on our app, we have thousands and thousands of exercises built out with any method of equipment that someone might need. So that's really not as big of an issue. It's just getting started. But once we can generate that momentum, which we can successfully do, and things really work out, we average about a 65% usage rate amongst everyone that we work with, which is a pretty high industry average. And that's where you really start to see revenue increases within the business. We can surpass that 60% number. You can really start to tell.
Imagine. And how do you, obviously, as I said, engagement is such an important proxy for, number one, employee output, but number two, revenue for the business in general. How do you personally go about measuring the success of your wellness programs, and what indicators do you look for to ensure they're making a positive impact to the business? Is it just engagement rates, or do you look at anything else?
For us, we really just care about the users and the employees in it. We know it'll be successful when they are achieving their goals. That's why engagement is so big, because we know that they're constantly working with us and they're, into it, and they want to achieve their goals. They want to continue to improve and get better. The business can take the metrics of that and use it to justify or quantify their own growth and, increased retention rates, lowered absenteeism through health. I don't really get to see those metrics, but I know that I can provide them through that engagement number.
And going back to, I suppose, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, what drives your personal passion for enhancing employee wellness? What is the fire and also that fuels it? And also, how is your own journey influence your approach? You mentioned that you had, your own battles physically and mentally, but also, how do you turn that into fuel? And is that still the same thing that's fueling you today?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've had a lifelong passion for this, and health and wellness has helped me get through some really tough times personally. I started off as a personal coach. I wasn't able to reach as many people as I wanted, so I started to work with companies because I can get more people at once and help more, because I really just want to be a positive force in people's lives. But also, a lot of their pain points I can relate to, the high stress levels, anxiety. It's a lot of their pain points I can relate to, the high stress levels, the anxiety, the level of work and how hard they work, taking things home with you, and maybe not even having the time to really focus on yourself like you want. So I can relate to these factors, and that's why I'm passionate about working with this particular industry, because I do a lot of this stuff on my end myself, and I want to help others with the same experience as much as I can.
That's brilliant. And paying forward to the future, what's the future look like for the Elevate Performance Group? And also, how do you see industry adjusting overall in the upcoming years?
I know after COVID, right, people work from home a lot, and then now they're kind of coming back to the office. But in the industry, I do see that kind of office leases are declining and things might stay more remote. So that makes the way we handle it stand out, how we can provide this mind-body connection value to someone in their home or wherever they may choose to be. I think we're ahead of the game on that. Future for us, I never really think about it. I just try to stay in the moment. I'm just happy to be where I am right now. And I think we should all kind of feel that way, because letting go of things is going to help you achieve your goals more. I do have my own goals, but right now they're let go of. I just want to continue to help people the best that I can.
It's brilliant. That's everything from me. I just want to say, I suppose, first of all, before we finish things up, is there any sort of finishing statements that you'd want to leave for anybody listening here that maybe wants to, number one, improve their own mental health, maybe avoid burnout, just doesn't know what, knows they're pushing themselves too hard, they're not, it's their bodies, or maybe are even clouded by the brain fog that goes hand in hand with burnout? Do you have any advice for somebody that's in that situation right now?
What I'd kind of like to do is take all of those topics you just mentioned and kind of combine them. My advice is to never wait for a date to start something. If you have a desire, you have something you want to go after, start right now. You're going to break that habit of procrastination and that form of language we talked about earlier where I want this or I need this. If you're not starting now, if you're waiting for a date, like, oh, I'll start Monday. Oh, I'll start on January 1st. You're already kind of setting yourself up for failure and not tweaking those thoughts. So if you have a goal, start today.
I think one thing I'll say, to just circle back to what we were talking about earlier on, is that point that you're saying right there, I think to me summarizes the whole importance of mind-body connection. We talk about paradigms, and before we started recording, we're talking about how, if you don't fundamentally believe you are the type of person to do something, you're not going to follow through. As you said, diets don't work, because if you're thinking, I'm someone who's unhealthy, someone who's unfit, going keto for 30 days won't do anything because you haven't changed your identity. And I would imagine, saying I'll start on Monday is really just reinforcing I'm not the type of person who can do it now because I don't deserve it right now. So that's powerful. I just want to say thank you so much, first of all, Derek. And secondly, where can people find you?
You can find me on elevateperformancegroup.com. You can also go to my LinkedIn profile, Derek Anderson. And we also have a LinkedIn page for Elevate Performance Group as well. So just in that top search bar, type that in. You'll find me there in my fancy headshot and suit.
I much appreciate it, Derek. Until next time. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Tomas. Be good.